Everything I don't like is woke, so I think I'll have a smoke and complain.
All right, I'm going to read this, just part of this quote real quick, okay? All right. The weight of a rucksack or a human being doesn't care if you're a man, a woman, gay, or straight. Okay, we're going to get back to that. Think about that. This is a statement about the U.S. military. The weight of a rucksack or a human being doesn't care if you're a man, a woman, gay, or straight. All right, so I'm going to talk about the show Boots on Netflix. I just binged the whole thing, but before we get to Boots, which I'll give you a quick summary, and then we'll talk about kind of the White House and what the Pentagon said about this show. Boots is a Norman Lear production. Norman Lear passed away a couple years ago, but he was a long-time producer of television shows. And Boots is based on a book called The Pink Marine, which is a memoir about a young man, or boy, I guess, an 18-year-old who joins the Marines in 1990 as a gay man. Back when the military did not allow that. You were not supposed to be gay in the Marines. This was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This was before kind of all the progressive policies that have led us to where we are now, where the weight of a rucksack or a human being doesn't care if you're a man, a woman, gay, or straight, right? But in 1990, this was a big deal. And so this show is about this kid going to boot camp and kind of finding himself. And it's about all the other kids in boot camp, all these young men from all different walks of life. And it's an extremely inspirational, heartwarming, and at times sad, but at times funny series about this experience of boot camp. And it's actually really pretty pro-military and really kind of a patriotic show. But it's very clearly against the policies that were in place in 1990 and previous to 1990 that made it illegal to be gay in the military. So I'll read you the full quote. This is a quote from Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson. Her quote, which was sent out as a statement to various media outlets, reads, "Under President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, the U.S. military is getting back to restoring the warrior ethos. Our standards across the board are elite, uniform, and sex-neutral because the weight of a rucksack or a human being doesn't care if you're a man, a woman, gay, or straight. We will not compromise our standards to satisfy an ideological agenda, unlike Netflix, whose leadership consistently produces and feeds woke garbage to their audience and children." Well, a few thoughts here. First, I need to make a video about all the stuff that Elon Musk has been saying about Netflix and how woke it is and these shows for kids and stuff, but we'll save that for later. The reason I only took a part of that quote in the beginning and read it is because what Wilson is saying here is essentially the message of Boots. I'm not saying the message in the critical drinker way. I'm saying the moral of the story is that it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. A Marine or a soon-to-be Marine in boot camp is tested based on their warrior ethos, based on their elite qualities. The show is about these young people being tested and transforming based on this gauntlet that they have to run. I guess that's one part of the boot camp, but I mean the broader sense of gauntlet based on this very, very challenging experience. And the moral of the story is it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. So it's ironic that Wilson is using this statement to trash this show as woke garbage, because there's nothing else being really told in this story. There's not some ideological agenda beyond this idea that Wilson herself is promoting in this statement. The White House is promoting the idea that it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. You know, it's about the warrior ethos. I think the most common word spoken in Boots is the word kill. It's repeated over and over again as a kind of prayer almost, or a chant, the ethos, kill. This is a show that is very pro-Marines. It's very it's very much in favor of what these kids go through to become better people. It's basically like, tell me you haven't watched the show without telling me. Kingsley Wilson, and whoever made you say that at the Pentagon, I guess Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. I guess it's important to just briefly mention the word woke here. What does the word woke mean? It means so many things that I'm fond of saying it means nothing at all. I think it's, the origin of the word woke goes way back, decades and decades and decades, and was used primarily in black culture to sort of describe the awakening to social injustices that black people experienced in post-Civil War America, in Jim Crow America, in segregated America. And somewhere along the way, in recent years, this word was co-opted by white progressives and lost a lot of its meaning, because it was essentially, and I don't like this phrase, but it was essentially culturally appropriated from black people by white progressives. And then as it gained steam there, it was turned into a pejorative by critics of social justice and critics of progressive policies. And so it means a few different things, right? Originally, it was a word that belonged to black people to describe kind of being aware of the larger societal things that were happening to them. Then it became used by a much wider group of people just to sort of describe their being in the in-group with social justice politics as a good thing. And then, I think for me personally, when I use this word, when I talk about woke stuff, I am critiquing from the left the rise in social justice politics and identity-based politics on the left. So a very specific sort of social justice-y left-wing movement that's very big on cancel culture, that's very big on, everything from pronouns to, to getting really mad at people for using language in the wrong way. It's a kind of, I guess a part of the left that's really become radicalized in the last 10 or 15 years that I really intensely dislike, because it sort of moves away from class issues and from big tent, liberalism to a very narrow, very authoritarian left-wing view of the world that I think is extremely damaging to a lot of causes, including the causes of equality that the left is supposed to be promoting. And I just find it it's like one of those things. I find it kind of silly when the sort of identity of woke is captured by middle class, upper class white people. But then, woke has become this sort of catch-all phrase on the right to just describe anything that conservatives and right-wingers don't like. Anything, including stuff they have clearly never watched, like Boots. Boots is not a woke show. I mean, it's not a woke show. It's not woke in that it makes. So if I were to say what would be a woke show, like if Boots was a woke show, it would be a show that presents the gay Marine as the only good character, and all the straight characters are horrible, and the white people are bad, and the military sucks, and it's horrible. It's an institution of evil, all that kind of thing. Well, Boots isn't that at all. It presents all its characters very humanely. It has a couple gay characters, but most of the characters are straight. And most of the characters who are straight are not portrayed as bad at all. And the military itself, well, this particular policy is absolutely put under a microscope and shown to be really awful, because The other gay character in the show, the other main gay character, is one of the drill instructors who is an elite recon Marine who's seen action all over the place, who has a silver star, and he's basically a hero, and he's really, really good at what he does, but he comes under investigation for being gay. And this is portrayed as a bad thing, which it is. It is a bad thing. And I think that if you read the statement from the White House would agree that this is a bad thing, that it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, gay or straight. What the Marines wants, what the military wants, are elite warriors. So this show actually, I think, does a really excellent job of telling this story without being super preachy and without demonizing characters, without making these characters out to be who aren't gay, the straight characters out to be bad, or the military out to be a horrible institution. Instead, it shows how boot camp changes everybody, gay or straight, how it tests everybody to their limits. And it's also just a really entertaining TV show. See, the statement from the Pentagon is so absurd, because for me, this is, when I critique wokeness, it's because people drag politics and identity politics into everything, and it's a lousy critique. It's a lousy way to create a show. It's a lousy, whether we're talking about forced diversity, or we're talking about, there's so many people on YouTube, on Twitter, whose only ability to talk about entertainment or video games is in their identity politics. That's all they've got. And this show is actually really, really good because it tells a really compelling story. It's got a great cast. A lot of these young recruits are, they're from all kinds of different backgrounds, and they're given rich stories. It's not just about this one Marine, this kid Cameron Cope. Though he is the central figure, a lot of the other characters in boot camp are given backstories and fully realized lives and personalities. And, each episode sort of takes you through a different part of boot camp and the struggles they go through and the bonds they form, the brotherhood they form. This is also, interestingly enough, an extremely male show. Like, it is about dudes. It's about young men. There are some female characters, but none of them are central to the story. It's, again, that sort of just doesn't feel like what we would define as wokeness to me. But this statement from the Pentagon is kind of like wokeness. It's right-wing wokeness. And this is what I want to talk about with Elon Musk and a lot of the stuff he's been saying about these shows that he hasn't actually watched. When you only critique something based on identity politics, to me, that is the central problem with wokeness, whether it's from the left or from the right. Like, this central problem is the same, is that all you have to say about this is based on your aggrieved sense of identity politics. Whether you are a white, straight, conservative male, and you can only criticize things based on your sense of aggrievement because of all the wrongs you see in the world that are happening to you, this sort of victimhood mentality. Or you're, on the left, and all you can see is how evil white people are, or how terrible cisgender straight people are. Like, either way, whatever direction that's coming from, to me, that's what the core badness of wokeness is. And so this statement from the White House, or from the Pentagon, this very ignorant statement, strikes me as that. More than the show. The show is about, it's a coming-of-age story. It's about injustice, sure, but it's mostly about coming of age, about killing your old self so that your better self can live and can grow into itself. So I highly recommend it. I think you should watch Boots. I don't think there's anything woke about it. I think it tells a really great story. I thought it was very funny, but there were times that were also extremely sad. It reminded me a little bit of Full Metal Jacket from Stanley Kubrick, although that movie is much more foul-mouthed than anything in Boots. But that same, the boot camp experience, right? I almost joined the Marines when I was 18, 19 years old. This was long ago. This was during the election for between Al Gore and George W. Bush. And I remember I was driving with the Marine recruiters down to Phoenix, Arizona, to take the ASVAB. And they asked me who I voted for. And I said I voted for Al Gore, and there was a chilly silence. They were not really happy with that answer. And I got down there, and you had to stay the night, and there was a curfew. And then the next day, they took you to the place where you took the ASVAB, and I took that, and I scored really, really well. And they made you take a piss test. And I remember I was, you stand next to this. There's this little Black Marine who was just giving me so much shit while I was trying to take a leak, watching me take a leak. Hurry up, he's telling me, and I can't pee because and it was at that point where I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So I didn't end up going through with it, which made the drive back up from Phoenix really, really awkward with the Marine recruiters who were not happy with me. But I often think about what would my life have been like? I sometimes even regret not doing it because I think it would have been such a transformative experience. But then again, my life wouldn't have turned out like it has, and I like my life. I have kids. I probably wouldn't have my kids if I had joined the Marines. And this was right before Afghanistan and Iraq, so I probably would have gone over, and I probably would have had to fight in those wars. And I guess I don't regret not doing that. But it is really inspirational and cool to see this story of young men becoming better young men. And that applies to Cameron Cope, who goes from being a bullied kid in high school, who has really no sense of identity, to finding this meaning and purpose in the Marines. And that applies to his best friend, who he followed there. They're not together or anything. His friend is straight. But he also learns about himself and his relationship with his father, who was a Marine, and lots of other characters, some who are really oddball and funny, and others who have really tragic stories. And it's just, I don't know what to say. It's a great show. I really, really enjoyed it. It is not woke garbage like the White House says. I wish the people, before they make these statements, would actually watch the shows, because I think there's nothing worse than critiquing a show or a movie or a game or any of this without actually experiencing it first, playing it, watching it, being a part of it, experiencing it for yourself, rather than just saying whatever's popular or whatever the crowd thinks, or whatever you think will get you clicks, or feed red meat to your base. Because this is a show that I think presents the Marines in a really positive light, and also reminds us that things have gotten better since 1990. The fact that you can be gay in the military, and that a conservative Pentagon would say that that's cool. I don't know. To me, we should also recognize how things have improved, even though it's really easy to get caught up in the doom and gloom and bullshit that we see around us every day. Because the world is crazy, and it's easy to just say, well, everything's fucked, we're really cooked. But it's not all bad. Certain things have certainly gotten better. So let me know if you've seen Boots, what you think of the Pentagon statement. And again, apologize for the long break between videos. Life is crazy. What can I say? Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. Peace.
Everything I don't like is woke, so I think I'll have a smoke and complain about kids out on my lawn. I don't have to make up my own mind. You can do it for me just fine. Before you go, just want you to know